shows the inside of a radio studio with Fred Willard as Buck Laughlin, John Belushi as Jim Belushi, Chris Farley as Todd O'Connor, and Mike Haggerty as himself. Willard, welcome back to ESP Radio, #1 among the spirits. We're brought to you by Hallis Haunted House Incorporated. Looking for a new place to haunt some living people this Halloween season? Try one of our locally renowned Hallis Haunted Houses, brought to you by Papa Bear himself. If you sign up now, I'm told, you'll get a 10% discount when you enter the code ESP Chicago. That's ESP Chicago. Anyway, speaking of Papa Bear, we have a very special guest on our program, the recently deceased General Manager of the 1985 Bears, Jerry Vainisi. Vainisi over the phone says, "Hello, hey guys, pleasure to be here." Belushi and Farley start chanting, "We're not worthy. We're not worthy." Vainisi, okay. Willard, "Oh, come on, Jerry, you've seen Wayne's World, haven't you?" Vainisi, can't say that I have." Haggerty, "I bet Jim Finks saw Wayne's World." Willard, "Now, Mike, while we love Jim Finks here based on his drafting of 7 starters, 4 Pro Bowlers, and 2 Hall of Famers in his legendary 1983 draft, which he made the selections of after he had already resigned, no less, don't sleep on Mr. Vainisi's draft legacy. As in the 3 drafts he drafted 10 starters, including Wilbur Marshall, Ron Rivera, Sean Gale, Refrigerator William Perry, Kevin Butler, and Neil Anderson." Haggerty, "That sounds pretty terrific." Willard, "And besides that, Jim Finks never answers our producers' calls. And we cornered Mr. Vainisi on his way up here. Anyway, Walter Payton, Dave Dewerson, and Buddy Ryan are all absolutely sick of our producer calling them, so we're very pleased to have a new member of the 85 Bears who has passed away for us to pepper with questions about Mike Ditka. So, Jerry, let me ask you, what was it like knowing Mike Ditka?" Vainisi, "Well, knowing Mike was an absolute pleasure. He was a very dear friend, an excellent coach for the Chicago Bears, and of course led us to the Super Bowl championship." Belushi, "And?" Vainisi, "I'm sorry?" Belushi, "That's all you got? Dear friend, excellent coach, Super Bowl champ, that's it? Don't hold back. This is your big moment to tell us about Mike Ditka." Vainisi, "Well, like I said, Mike and I were very close friends, and I sided with him regarding many issues with the team at the time, against the then Bears president, Michael McCaskey. In 1986, a year after we won the Super Bowl, I was fired because Mike and I convinced McCaskey to bring in quarterback Doug Flutie, and we lost in the playoffs with him at quarterback." Farley, "That's absolute bullshit." Vainisi, "I'm sorry?" Farley, "You've been on the air here for how long, and you haven't even given us a personal anecdote about how much of a character Mike Ditka was." Vainisi, "Well, I was told there could be kids listening." Willard, "That's true. Kids die too. And if you believe what they say, only the good ones, having died so young. Folks, my producer apparently found time to stop haggling with his ex-wife over alimony to tell me that we have the man who fired Jerry Vainisi, president of the 1985 Bears, Michael McCaskey, on the line. Michael, are you there?" McCaskey, "I'm here. Thanks for having me." Willard, "So Jerry here claims that you fired him over the Doug Flutie situation. We were hoping you could clear that up by just talking generally about your thoughts regarding Mike Ditka." McCaskey, "Well, the relationship between Mike Ditka and I is often misunderstood. Even though I fired him, I always believed." Haggerty, "Wait a second. You fired Mike Ditka?" McCaskey, I did, but what people fail to realize about that is, Haggerty, you know that's like firing God, don't you? Belushi and Farley get up from the table and trash the studio before walking out of the room. Willard, it appears that Jimmy and Todd have walked out of the studio in protest over Mike Ditka having been fired 30 years ago. Mr. McCaskey, any response? McCaskey, well, hey, we won the Super Bowl in 1985, and nothing that happened since then can ever take that away. And we were one of the greatest teams of all time, if not the very greatest. And Jerry here was an excellent general manager, and he is one of the all-time greats in Chicago sports history. Haggerty, he didn't even mention Ditka in his response. Willard, okay, we're running out of time as we're getting close to the top of the hour, where we're going to have Buddy Ryan on the air to discuss the 46 reasons why Mike Ditka was the best coach ever. So, Mr. Vainisi, we'll let you go with the last word. Vainisi, go Bears, and dead from the earth, we're not alive. It's Saturday Not Alive, starring John Belushi, Chris Farley, Bill Hartman, Chan Hooks, Norm McDonald, Gilda Radner, Donitra Vance, and many other special deceased contributors. Musical guest, Loretta Lynn, and your host, Fred Willard. Everybody, Fred Willard. Applause, applause, applause. Willard, dressed in sunglasses, a white jumpsuit, and blue cape, sings, "One night with you is what I'm now praying for. The things that we two could plan would make my dreams come true. Just call my name and I'll be right by your side. I want your sweet helping hand. My love's too strong to hide. Always lived very quiet life. I ain't never did no wrong. Now I know that life without you has been too lonely too long. One night with you is what I'm now praying for. The things that we two could plan would make my dreams come true. Applause, applause, applause. Willard takes off his sunglasses and says, "It's only me, it's only me, wow." I bet you were thinking, wow, what an opening act. And the reason I did that is kind of a tribute to a guy I saw in Vegas a while back. His name was Dennis Colt. He did a show. It was called Tribute to the King. And he does that last song and a lot of great songs. Heartbreak Hotel, Blue Suede Shoes, Don't Be Cruel. And he's got a lot, a very dynamic quality. He should be a star very soon. I don't know why he's not now, particularly 44 years later. Anyway, John Belushi comes out. Applause, applause, applause. Willard, "Hey, John, how are you?" Belushi, "Fred, what are you doing?" Willard, "Well, I'm trying to get through a monologue here. I got a great little set planned. It's about fifth graders grabbing their crotch and saying they have their, whatever the other person just mentioned, right here. I'm even going to mention Thurman Munson in the audience. It's going to be great." Shows Thurman Munson in the audience who tips his Yankee cap. Belushi. Fred, I know exactly what you're going to do because what you've done so far is exactly what you did in 1978 when you hosted Saturday Night Live. Willard. You know, that's true, John. Guilty as charged. And I said then and I'll say now that I feel repeating yourself is a sign of ignorance. If I said it once, I said it 1,000 times. Belushi. Well, instead of just copying Saturday Night Live, why don't you do your own thing? Come up with a new idea. Willard. Now, come on, John, you're putting me in a very precarious position. Belushi. Why is that? Willard. Well, John, I think you're leading me to a punchline I don't want to make, okay? We can't all be Don Rickles. Belushi. Please, Fred, provide some context. What punchline am I leading you toward making? Willard. Well, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about all sorts of things surrounding the show, but all I can say is, I think Saturday Night Live is about as original as it gets. Now, does it base its entire structure on a pre-existing show in order to ride its coattails? Sure. Does it look up old monologues and sketches to blatantly copy them, claiming to be merely honoring or spoofing? Sure. However, this show is the first I know of to unabashedly put all sorts of words in dead people's mouths, disrespect them, make light of them, and then try to ride their coattails without their permission. Belushi. So you're saying this show is actually pretty original because it not only is copying and riding the coattails of another show without permission, it's also copying and riding the coattails of all sorts of dead people without any permission. Willard. That's right, John. Its originality lies in the level of disrespect it shows by exploiting the past. Just really, really fascinating how exploitative it really is. I mean, you'd want no part of that, would you? Belushi. Hell no, I wouldn't. But there's one silver lining to it. At least it's incredibly unpopular. Willard grabs his crotch and says, I got your unpopular right here. Folks, we have an exploitative show tonight. Loretta Lynn is here. So if you're not gone too long, one's on the way, called Coal Miner's Daughter. We'll be right back.